Hey friends, Wesley from Bayside, Davis, and I'm here to give you a two-part devotional on burnout. Today will be part one, tomorrow will be part two. And I was thinking that in the Bible, around this topic of burnout, there's two people to learn from. One, wisdom from Moses around burnout, and two, wisdom from Jesus around burnout. Let's look at Moses. In the book of Exodus, as my good friend Jason Kane showed me, there's one of the most important stories around burnout in the entire Bible. It's the story of Moses and leading up to 1 million people from Egypt, where they were redeemed from slavery and oppression, into the promised land. And he's leading these people to the land of Canaan, and he is responsible for all of their issues. He literally is sitting as the judge, dealing with all the disputes and all the problems and all the relational context of the people. And his father-in-law comes to him one day and he says, "What you're doing is not good." And he says something interesting in verse 18 of Exodus 18. He says, "You and these people who come to you will only wear yourselves out." That's an interesting Hebrew term, wear yourselves out. It comes from a Hebrew word, naval, and it means to become exhausted from stress. Not every point of exhaustion in life is burnout. If everything is burnout, then nothing is burnout. Burnout is when the passions of our life meet the stresses of our life. And when the stresses of our life live on a constant continuum, they can ebb away at the passion that we once had for that thing or that relationship or some sort of trajectory that we are going after in our life. Burnout is unhealthy stress cycles. Moses' father-in-law looked at Moses and said, "You have an unhealthy amount of stress and pressure in your life that if you don't take care of, you're going to live in burnout." In fact, later on in Numbers chapter 11, verses 14 and 15, Moses says this, "I cannot carry all these people by myself. The burden is too heavy for me. If this is how you're going to treat me," this is what Moses says, "please go ahead and kill me." Like, this is Moses, one of the greatest leaders in the narrative of Scripture and biblical history. And he was like, "I'm overwhelmed, I'm burdened, this is too much, and I'm depressed." But within this context, in this particular story in Exodus chapter 18, there's a couple of key phrases in this story that give us wisdom for burnout, and I just want to read them to you. First of all, in verse 18, you cannot do this alone. We're not meant to shoulder the stresses and pressures and responsibilities of life alone. We need people. Verse 18 as well, this work is too heavy for you. Sometimes we're taking on way too much. Beyond our own limitations and capacities, we begin to think that we're a robot, that we can take on anything and everything from anyone in a 24/7 continuum. And God was like, "I'm going to send your father-in-law to tell you this is too heavy for you." Also in verse 18, you will wear yourself out. That is the picture of burnout. This point of exhaustion, this being at a point where literally the passions in your life are no longer fired up. You no longer are burning with those passions. They've been snuffed. They've been ebbed away by the stresses of life. And then verse 19, listen to me and I will give you advice. I love this. This is important, vital wisdom for burnout. That as we're doing what we do, as we are pursuing our goals and our responsibilities in life, we all need mentors who are wise, that we can come to and say, "Here's how I'm feeling. Here's what I'm experiencing. Can you give me some objective wisdom to navigate this pressure-filled season?" We need people, pastors and leaders and mentors and people that are discipling us and community leaders that help us navigate the responsibilities and loads in life. And then verse 19, God be with you. Like, we don't just need mentors and people in life who are wise. We need God. We need God's help. We need God's strength. We need God's wisdom. We need God every day of our life, no matter how successful we become. God is the one that gives us the wisdom and strength to navigate all the seasons of life that we will go through and walk through. And then finally, two more. You cannot be involved in everything, verse 22, and these go together. And then verses 21 through 23, multiply leaders. You can't be involved in everything. Sometimes in life, maybe you're a type A achiever personality. Maybe you're a people pleaser. We feel like we are responsible for everything around us. And there are seasons that we have an extra load of responsibility. But sometimes we need to look at our own limitations, gifting, time, energy limitations, and say, I can only give so much, and then I'm spent. I can only do so much, and then I have nothing left in the tank. And we need to be able to say, no, I'm a human being with limitations, and I need to live wisely within those limitations. I hope this wisdom is helpful for you. I just pray that if you're either on the verge of burnout or you're living in burnout, that this wisdom can help you either engineer your life or re-engineer your life in a wise way, learning from the life of Moses. I'll see you tomorrow for part 2. Much love.